Hello there everyone, Stormy Strike here, giving you my personal review for Free Rein Season 2. The first half of this review will be spoiler free for both seasons of Free Rein if you haven't seen them yet, and then in the second half I will talk about some of the spoilers from Season 2, but I will give you a spoiler warning beforehand. If this is your first time hearing about Free Rein, I'll give you a brief synopsis. Zoe and her family come from Los Angeles, California, to a fictional island in the United Kingdom. Zoe meets a black horse called Rein and has an immediate connection to him, which leads her to become involved with a group of riders and stable called Brightfield Stables. It's a story full of drama, adventure, and even some romance and mystery. The show is aimed towards viewers of the tweens and teens, but is pretty much appropriate for all ages. The show is produced by Netflix and so far has had 10 episodes per season, with a running time of 25 to 34 minutes per episode. This year, the show has won 2 awards, winning Best New Series for Tweens and Teens at the Kids Screen Awards and Outstanding Children's or Family Viewing Series by Daytime Emmy. Season 2 of Free Rein came out on Netflix on July 6, 2018, which means I'm sorry this review is over a month late. Season 2 was released 1 year after Season 1, and the show has been renewed for a 3rd season, which is expected to be released in summer of 2019, but there is also word that there are 2 additional specials for the series being filmed, and it is speculated that these may come out before the 3rd season, although no official announcements or dates have been released yet. I personally really like this show. It has a good story and interesting characters. The cinematography is impressively stunning, and the production design feels fresh. Season 2 followed up Season 1 flawlessly, providing new characters and storylines while also staying faithful to the foundation that was built in Season 1. But I know there are some things in the show that people complained about in Season 1 that they will probably complain about again in Season 2. I think the show is really fun and modern. It's a show I would have loved to have when I was growing up, and I still enjoy it now. Even my mom watched Season 2 with me, and she just really loves this show. So why are there people out there that don't like it? I believe it comes from taking the show just a little too seriously. But mostly I believe it's because people have high hopes for it to portray everything about the horse world correctly. The fact of the matter is, no television show or movie probably has ever or will ever be 100% accurate in portraying horses and riders, but that's for every real-world situation, and it isn't just exclusive to the horse world. Good stories and characters are prioritized over 100% real-world accuracy when it comes to filmmaking. Now that doesn't mean that stories shouldn't try and stay as accurate to the real world as possible when it is needed, but it also means you can't expect them to always get it completely right. For what it is, I think Free Rein does do a pretty good job of not doing anything that is ridiculously out of the realm of possibility or accuracy when it comes to the horse world. Now, of course, there were several instances in Season 2 where I thought something was clearly not that accurate to the real world when it came to horses, but I suspended my disbelief for the sake of the story and the characters. The reason I'm bringing this up is because I've noticed the comments people have made regarding the show, and I just feel it is a little unfair to put such strict expectations on it to be 100% realistic, especially on a series that is entirely fictional. Some of the common complaints I've heard is that the clothes the characters wear aren't what typical people riding and working in the stables would wear. To that I say, of course they're not. Your average horse rider wouldn't have flawless hair and makeup either, but that's all in the movies and TV shows. It's always like that. It'll probably always be like that. I personally love the production and costume design of Free Rein. The design choices match the characters and play well in relationship to the story of Season 2. Personally, I prefer seeing this more artistic interpretation of costume design over seeing everyone in totally accurate, average barn clothes. I especially love seeing the costume designs for the character of Becky. She always has something new and interesting on that really reflects her character. As mentioned, there were things in Season 2 that aren't accurate to horses in the real world, but I feel like some of those things are even up for interpretation based on people's various knowledge and experiences they've had with horses, which is why I'm not going to list out everything that I noticed, although I will mention one thing in the spoiler portion of this review. The point is that we real horse world enthusiasts should try not to be too critical about every little detail. I know I too have had my fair share of things to complain about in various horse movies and horse shows, so I'm not saying we should completely overlook or ignore the obvious problems, but rather not let them ruin our enjoyment of the story overall. I mean, I will say it still bothers me in a lot of horse shows and things I've seen where the cinches or girths of the saddles are drawn way too far back on the horses' bellies in different animated shows, but I don't let that ruin my entire enjoyment of the show. I'm sorry I went on a big tangent about that, but it's something I've been thinking about for a while, and I just wanted to express my opinion on it. Let's get back more about Free Rein Season 2. There were some new characters introduced in this season, which I enjoyed the inclusion of. I also enjoyed all the returning characters. For the most part, I felt that the character arcs in this season were done well and realistic, along with the changing relationships between the characters. There are a couple things I'm a little iffy on that I will discuss momentarily, though. In this season, the actors feel like they are really fitting into their characters, and it makes me excited to see where the show will go from here. I liked that this season included a couple new locations and events, which helped push the story forward and not make it feel like a repeat of the first season. Like the first season, though, Season 2 included themes of mysteries and horse competitions, which I think work well within the story and just the overall tone of the show. It just kind of has that fun teenage adventure, mystery, excitement vibe that I think is really fun and just fits the show really well. I enjoyed this season just as much, maybe if not even more, than the first season of Free Rein. Now, there's not much else I can say about it without spoiling what happens in Season 2, so here's the official warning for the spoiler portion of my review. Now, I am going to talk a bit about the things that do bother me a little in this season, as I'm sure a lot of you may only be watching this because you want to hear what negative things I have to say about the show. Now, a lot of my problems revolve actually around the main horse of the story, Raven. One thing I was a little iffy on is the reintroduction of the plot point of someone wanting to steal Raven. It worked in the first season, but I really hope this isn't a reoccurring theme that comes back in the third season, or I will be a little disappointed. I just don't really understand why Raven is made out to be such a special horse that apparently everyone wants. Well, not everyone, but Gabby, I really hope that's her name and I didn't totally mess this up, but Gabby wants him in Season 2, and I don't really understand why. I get that Raven is a beautiful and talented horse, but he doesn't seem really all that much more so than any of the other competing horses. According to the show, he has royal bloodlines, which would make him more valuable, but I don't believe Gabby even knew this before she wanted him. Speaking of royal bloodlines, if I remember correctly, Raven's owner said at the end of Season 1 that he was the son of a famous racehorse. I don't remember if they mentioned the breed or not, but if they did, I will throw that up on screen. I would assume that would mean a thoroughbred, though, since they are a predominant breed of racehorse in the UK. Yet in Season 2, Elliot says that Raven is a Kiger Mustang. What? Seriously, what? He's a Kiger Mustang? That's the same horse that Spirit is. Like, what? First off, Kiger Mustangs are a US breed, and I'm pretty sure they're really only in North America. And secondly, they aren't really used as a racing breed. It just doesn't really make any sense. It's just a little confusing, and it felt like a really unnecessary inclusion in the dialogue. They could have totally gotten away without mentioning Raven's breed at all in the scene, and it just would have been fine. It wouldn't have affected the story at all, and it would have left out the confusion. So that's just something I kind of don't understand at all unless I totally missed something there, but otherwise that part just really does not make sense to me. Another thing about this season I felt a little confused about was the relationship between the siblings Elliot and Gabby. There was just something about the cadence of their relationship that felt off for some reason. I also felt like it went back and forth too much in the show, trying to make it seem like one of them was bad while the other one was good, and then it switched again. It was like, oh no, this is actually the bad person, and then the other one is actually a good person. It felt like they switched back and forth on who the real villain of the show was supposed to be, and it just did that too much, I felt like, and it was kind of unnecessary. I felt like the writing was trying a little too hard in attempting to deceive the audience, instead of focusing more on building them as realistic, changing characters. Gabby's character in particular did have an arc going in the later half of this season, but even her arc felt a little jarring. While I appreciate the efforts they made to make it seem more believable that she wasn't just going to magically change into a better person overnight or anything, some of the emotional beats she had just felt out of place when it came to her character's growth. At the end of the series, we discover that Pin's family was actually related to the recently deceased Duke, and so now the struggling family actually has some wealth. I don't mind this twist in the story much, but I did find it kind of funny that Pin's dad was possibly not going to mention anything about it to Pin. I mean, what's up with that? I don't understand. Especially when it's pretty obvious that Pin's character would likely use the money for good and not just like blow it on some fancy boats or something. I don't know, I just thought that was a little strange, and that was kind of just maybe a quick little solution to tie up the story there. But I mean, it wasn't terrible necessarily or anything. I just thought it was a little odd. Now, I do have plenty of other good things to say about this season 2. I liked that Mia's character growth and change has been done in a realistic way. After season 1, she didn't immediately become a saint. She still has flaws in testing relationships with other characters, but at the same time, she has shown significant change. I also like that her previous partner in crime, Susie, has shown some change as well, and has a new friendship with the other characters, particularly with Jade. The love triangle with Zoe, Marcus, and Pin continues in this season, and seems like it will perhaps end after this season 2. In a way, I kind of really hope it does, because it feels like the rival between Marcus and Pin has come to an end, and it, well, would just be really weird if Zoe broke up with Pin and got back with Marcus again in season 3 or something like that. I don't know, I just feel like the love triangle needs to be put to rest now. It's run its course. I think it's done. I hope it's done. I hope they don't just keep trying to drag it out in future seasons. The friendship problems with Becky and Jade go on throughout this season, and they are pretty predictable, I'd say, but not because of lazy writing or anything like that. It's just because that's kind of how it is in these real-life situations when you're worried about losing your friends. At the end of this season, we see a new romance spark between Becky and Alex, one of the Holloway writers, which I personally really like, and I hope it continues on into the 3rd season. In this season, Zoe's little sister, Rosie, struggles to figure out how she fits into this new horsey lifestyle. And once again, Rosie surprised me as being one of my favorite characters of this show. I think I mentioned this in my review of season 1, but I'll mention it here again. At first, I didn't think I was going to like Rosie at all, and that she was going to be one of my least favorite characters of the show. Yet there's just something about her character's personality that I really enjoy. Her attitude is really fun and entertaining, without it being over the top or selfish. And despite her being one of the youngest characters in the show, I feel like her character is really three-dimensional and realistically developed. I just really like her character for some reason. I think she is really cute and funny. The horses in the show are beautiful, like always. Raven continues to be an emotionally complicated being, and Bob continues to be the lovable comic relief. Yet I was very surprised when the show raised the stakes and made it seem like Bob was going to die in season 2. I was not expecting them to raise the stakes that drastically, and for a short while, I really thought that he was actually going to be gone from the show, which was heartbreaking. My mom was watching it with me, and she was very, very upset with the whole part of Bob being sick. And I kept thinking, oh my gosh, they can't really do this. Are they really going to do this? Are they really going to kill Bob off? How could they do such a thing? But fortunately, Bob is well. I was going to be really heartbroken if Bob passed away in the show. He is such a cute and funny horse. He is definitely one of my favorite characters. Also, for the horses in this season, I liked that Pin's horse, I believe his name is Albus, was given some attention in the story, and I'd like to see that kind of similar amount of attention be given more to some of the other horses in later seasons. Now, I believe that is the most I have to say in my review about Free Rein Season 2. I really do enjoy this show, and I can't wait to see more of it. My question for you guys is, what are your favorite characters of the series? I think for myself, Pin, Becky, and Rosie are my top 3 favorite characters, but I want to know which character or characters you guys really liked and connected with in this season. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wholesome day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye everyone!